What up? What up? Aloha, Charles.
How's it? How's it? How's it?
Happy Monday. Okay, here we go. Happy Happy Monday to all.
Yep.
There we go. There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys stayed dry. Get a little bit more rain on Kauai again. Hanalei River, uh, the Hanalei Road is closed to Hanalei again. Flooding. Gosh, man, when is it gonna end?
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, tonight we got a special show. I'll put this up again, but share, share, share. We have Angela Keene tonight, Hawaii Quarantine Kapu Breakers. She's gonna be talking star with us. Ooh, Charles, you got the high tech board, baby.
Yep. I even got the color. The color.
Yeah, that is pretty, man. Mine is like, okay,
Yeah.
yours is nice. Yours is sexy.
Yours is the yours is the kind. Yours is the high tech too, man.
All right, guys. So Angela Keene will be on tonight with an amazing announcement. She's finally getting some assistance, and we'll let her explain that tonight. Um, because I think with what's going on Oahu, and I'm sure everywhere, but not to the magnitude of Oahu. The parties, the concerts, the oh, man, some people just don't give a damn. Charlie, I realize that some people just don't give a damn, and they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing, and they're not being cautious. And then they're gonna be the first ones crying when they go back to tier two.
Yep.
Where? Well, you guys knuckleheads, stop doing that kinds of things. Follow the stinking rules, and you can stay in tier three, maybe even go to tier four. But right now, you guys whine, and you get what you wanted, tier three, and then you guys go right out and forget about the rules. I'm glad that promoter got arrested, but it's out of control, and there's no way HPD is going to be able to control that because there's just too many spots that they cannot check. So anyway, we're gonna
Yep.
hear about that tonight with Angela.
Yep.
But I tell you guys, we're headed exactly what we predicted. We're heading down that same road. Remember, today's number is 103. Whether it's right, wrong, or whatever, is today's Monday. So those numbers are from Saturday, which is when the labs are not at full staff and they process less uh, samples. So we get 2 days of the lower numbers because of the weekend lab. So and it's still it's still triple digits. So guys, we're heading down the wrong direction. So don't be surprised. This is exactly why we were so loud about being careful. Don't rush. We're so close. We rush. We open up. Everybody happy, and then we got to shut down again because the cases are out of control. Not
Well,
if you ask the lieutenant governor, though. If you listen to the lieutenant governor today, it's all good. It's all good.
I started to realize one thing. You know how we said, why can't they give us the location, right? Why can't they give us the location? I'll tell you the reason why they can't. Now, because there is no surveillance testing being done, the testing that we get is basically someone seeks medical intervention, right? So when a person goes in and gets tested at Queens, at urgent care, that's the location. They cannot give you a specific area. And so that's why I think more than ever, we shouldn't be on a delay notice. We should be on a notice that once the thing pops up, you give the number out right away. Because then it can cause any one of us to determine, hey, could I have been exposed or not? I want to do my part. I want to be safe, but I want to make sure that I am not possibly infecting anyone else. But you need to give them that guidance, and that's how they get that information when the number pops up. When you gotta wait this like 2 days and you gotta start extrapolating backwards, okay, today's is actually this date and blah 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 blah. Ah, just imagine if you was in school and your math teacher says, okay, Charles, 2 plus 2. Okay. If two is the first number, it's two. Why? Because you put that up first. The other two will come back when it reaches, then it'll be four. But right now it's only two. You know, some BS like that. that's why that's why we're getting jammed up.
Well, you talking about like how Kauai does it,
Yeah,
right? Kauai does it. Boom. This morning they get
boom,
the result. Boom. Press release.
exactly.
A child on Kauai, a resident, but this resident child traveled to the mainland,
Mhm.
came back, went to a bubble resort. She got tested to test out of um, quarantine. But anywhere else, and if they're not in the bubble, Charlie, bingo, you hit it. Only the sick are going to get tested. And
Yep.
it's kind of too late.
Mhm.
Kind of too late. What's interesting today, though, this is interesting. And I don't know if you watched the 10:30 interview, the Star Advertiser interview with the lieutenant governor. They asked him, this is bizarre. First of all, he discredited the Maui study. That pissed me off. He said, oh, what? My gosh, they only had two cases. Yeah, two cases out of 200 some odd passengers. It was a 7 per thousand rate. See, but again, he was so he was amazing. He was so evasive, but he was asked point blank, where are our cases coming from? Are they coming from visitors, travel, or from residents? And he said residents. Charlie, he said residents. Like, wow. That is why the state doesn't release the cases like Kauai does, because it gives the people too much information that they're going to realize that some of these politicians are misleading the public. And so I'm thankful we got our system here on Kauai. We know, and it's real time. It's real time. It's not 2 days old or 3 days old or 1 day old. No, it's as soon as the county gets the info, they release it.
Well, remember what I said the last time we were on. Last week, what? No, we discussed it a little on Friday, and that is if you're saying it's the resident because the residents have a sense of responsibility because when they get sick or they require medical intervention, they will go in and test. A
Quickly,
visitor, a
quickly.
visitor, because they've been told. Now remember, if you test positive, you will have to quarantine for the next 10 to 14 days until it's clear for you to get back on the plane and leave. By then, the vacation is completely shot. And they say, well, this is just like the sniffles. It's like a bad cold. I go write them out. Yeah, what does writing out mean? Writing out means I'm going to infect a lot of you local people in the meantime, too.
Yep,
And, and
yep.
so I think I don't know, got to get some screws loose upstairs someplace.
Guys, don't forget share. I know a lot of you guys are just coming on. Make sure you hit that share button. We got Angela Keen tonight, and Angela is always fun. Um, I think she's part Portuguese. Ooh, can I say that? Yes, I can because I'm Portuguese. But yeah, she loves to share, and I think she's got some good announcements tonight, good information. But I think getting back to COVID, the CD. Look at that, he's changing colors, man. This guy is changing colors. Okay, Charlie, you like play like that? You want to play like that?
Okay.
But the CDC, I don't know how many of you saw the director come on today several times throughout the day. She is basically begging. You're welcome, Calvin. You're welcome, man. We're still trying to get you on our Friday show, buddy. Fish Express, cannot go wrong. Good food, good prices, friendly people, and safe.
Yep. Yep.
Safe. Fish Express, guys. Calvin Tamagawa, good buddy, almost like my cousin. We grew up like so close, and we best friends. Anyway, don't forget. But the CDC director is basically begging. The only thing she's not doing is going on her knees. She's begging the country to listen. She's begging the country to be careful because this variants are wreaking havoc. We are now, you look at the increase in cases, increase in hospitalizations in Hawaii. I don't care what the lieutenant governor said. And I don't care what Mayor Blangiardi says about, he don't care about the numbers. He looks at hospitalizations and uh, deaths. Wow, my brother, it's kind of late when you're looking at deaths. But anyway, the CDC is begging everybody. You see, they are the clearinghouse of information. They have all the data. They have all the facts. They have all the numbers. She's begging states to please, please do not ease up on your restrictions at this point. And we're not listening. I mean, Hawaii ain't listening. Hell no, because the lieutenant governor said we're doing fine.
You know why? Yeah? You know why? I just got a news break right here. This is from a very credible source. What the lieutenant governor says and what the CDC says, the reason why it's different is the lieutenant governor has taken the position, but it's found that we are being directed by Martians.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right now, we have Martians are in control of our Department of Health and messaging us. That's why we are so different. If you brought in somebody from California right now, I'm sure there's somebody from California watching, and they saw this morning's press conference and everything that's happening back in California, they're going to say, wow, Hawaii is land of aloha, but man, they really out there. They really got some interesting way of breaking the news. So,
yeah, it's these variants are nothing to mess around with. Now, we're about 20 or maybe 30% vaccinated. We got to get that vaccinations up, no doubt about it. We got to, and again, for those of you that have chosen not to take it, we respect that, but we got to get that up. We got to get that up.
right, right.
We got to focus on allowing the mayors to have the authority. The Senate has deferred the bill to take away the mayor's authorities, and the House put it right back in. Senate Bill 266, the House draft. I mean, you guys gotta let your representatives and senators know how you feel. We need to give the mayors that authority. We really do. And listen, we can coexist with this virus, but it's gonna take some time. My son, Angela's in the waiting room. But let me just quick story. My son's friend in Oregon went to Texas, visit family or friends, and stayed at the person's house. The kid got COVID. A child got COVID. The child passed it to everybody in the house, including my son's friend. They all got COVID. Started with one child. And that's because these variants are much more contagious, guys. So, let's be real about it. Let's not mislead the people, Lieutenant Governor. Let's tell them the truth. If you watch today, the Lieutenant Governor was kind of backpedaling, like he's kind of concerned because that we may have to revert back to tier 2. Well, bro, a couple of weeks ago, you said, no need worry. We on the roll. We moving anyway.
Rolling.
Dangerous stuff, guys. We're playing with fire and we're going to get burned if we don't be careful. All right, Angelina.
I'm driving in my car. The radio.
Come on, Charlie. Where is she?
Yeah.
I just saw her. She was on the news. She was on the TV. She's like a celebrity. She was like, and we haven't said a word about your special announcement tonight, but I'm proud of you, Angela. I'm so proud of you, and I thank you so much.
I'm proud of you guys, and I couldn't do this without you guys,
Oh, come on.
I can't. There's no way I could do this without you.
I bet you say that to all the guys.
got that. No, they just call me all the guys call me a snitch. Hold on.
I saw that. I saw that.
Hold on. Here we go.
Oh,
Okay.
they're not calling you a snitch. That's wrong. They
No,
they said Stitch, like Lilo and Stitch.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
No, I said, you know what? I said, I'm not the snitch. The snitch is your friends and family. They're the ones that know. They tell me. I talk to authorities because I'm protecting people who are worried about getting sick from all the kind, that's, yeah.
Right.
So I'm not a snitch. Their family members are a snitch. But
Mm.
I don't believe in snitches. I think if you're helping the community, it's not about snitching. It's about keeping people safe. Yeah.
Exactly.
That is bingo.
Good job.
On target. I love that. I love that definition.
Let's see who said hi. Let me say hi just real quick. I got to say hi. Oh my gosh.
They all love you. They all love you.
Raylene, Mila, John, Shirai, Nani, Marlene, Tammy, Susan, Jane Ozaki. Let's see who else. Oh, it's going fast. Leah, Jesse. Oh, I love you, Jesse. Rosie, Amy, Keala. Love you, Keala. Sandy. There you are, Nani. Who else? Who else is here? Sam and Brenda. There we go. Got them all. Woo.
All right. Angela, before we get started, I know you wanted to take some time to give a special shout out to someone that we just lost. So why don't you take that time and share with us what's happened?
I'm looking for my Kleenexes because I've been crying a lot.
I was looking for mine. It looked like it's gone.
Everybody knows that I've kind of been offline last couple of days. And it's because we're very busy, but B, the other part is we lost, here I go. We lost our main administrator for the group. And she's so secretive about what she does that her friends and her ohana don't really know that she was very involved. And even some people in the group didn't know her because she was so quiet, but she was stealth man. Shan Mendoza Goldsby. I love you, girl. Saying hi to her in heaven. Shan was one of the first people who joined the group, the Hawaii Kapu Breakers. And she and I hit it off immediately. We were sisters and we were moderators together. And then we became administrators together when the owner of the group handed it over to me and said, okay, you're the founder and you're the owner now. Shan is a local girl, but she moved to be in Washington State to have her family there. She's got a husband, Augie, and her kids. I have a feeling they don't know who I am because she just doesn't share like that. So she was my girl. I called her my quarantine buddy. She was my quarantine buddy because everything that I needed or had to say, Shan was always there and Shan always listened. Shan always had ideas. She always knew how to do things pono. She always knew how to find information. And if you think I'm a stealth super sleuth at finding people and getting information, Shan was also somebody like that. Living in Washington, you'd think that people would lose their ties to Hawaii. It was like she lived here. She never skipped a beat. She was always up to date on the information that was happening. And when Hawaii closed down for quarantine because of COVID in the very beginning, back in March, she was with me. She was all the way. She was like, safety first. We care about our kupuna. We care about our ohana. Hawaii is the most important because of our Native people. And we do not want to lose that. And so she was the one that fought really hard for a lot of things. And she was the one that found found people breaking quarantine. And she got information on people. She had fake accounts, dummy accounts that she would engage with people and actually talk to them because people didn't know who she was. And she would get information. But her heart and soul was with Hawaii. And I want her family and her friends to know in Washington that she saved lives. She saved so many lives by her actions, by her words, by her hard work. And I know she worked at the golf course, but every time she was working, she was texting me. There wasn't a moment that I knew that if I texted her about something that I would get an answer within moments. And if not that, you know, soon. I wouldn't have to wait a day, let's just say that. She was a very powerful person behind the scenes. She knew how to talk to people when they threw F-bombs and got in trouble. She was the one that put people in timeout when they needed to be put in timeout for a week. That wasn't me. I don't do that. You know, she said, you know, she was the strength. I'm bamboo, so you know I tend to bend a lot, and she was the one that put down her foot. So she would say to me things like, you know, keep going, girl. You got this. It was those kinds of encouragement. You're saving lives. When I was ready to throw in the towel, Shan was the one that talked me out of it. There were many times when I wanted to throw in the towel because in the beginning of this, when people called me names and bullied me about this kind of stuff, about being a snitch, no, we were keeping people safe. We are keeping people safe. And Shan was the one that talked me out of it. You know, I was very emotional in the very beginning and I couldn't handle the hate. She helped me handle the hate from the people who don't believe in COVID and don't believe in quarantine and being safe and masks and all that. So she was really the muscle and the brawn behind Kapu Breakers group. She really was. I mean, she was, because, you know, I sent her a message. She had surgery. She ended up in the hospital. She said to me, Ange, I'm gonna need to take a couple, you know, some time off. So if you don't hear from me, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And she worked right through her recovery. Who does that? You know? And then what happened was she wasn't feeling well. I just got off the phone with family. So she wasn't feeling well after recovery. I had sent her a message last Friday saying, hey sis, we have a new partnership. I want you to be the first to know. And I didn't get an answer. She knew about what was going on. She knew about the partnership, but I had new details for her. That's what it was. I had new details for her and she didn't answer. So Saturday passed and I'm like, my messages are unread. That is just impossible. Well, at that time, she had gone into the hospital. She had gone into the hospital. She wasn't feeling well. So the end result of surgery was sepsis, which is an infection that can happen when the hospital or the physician is not careful. And infection can run through the body. And if it goes into the bloodstream, then it's an acute thing. Knowing Shan, she probably waited because she's such a toughie. And she did get to the hospital and they did put her in ICU, but the Lord called her home on Sunday. So when I checked on Sunday and I saw that there weren't any answers to my messages, I tried one more time. And then I went to her page and I saw the condolences. So that's how I found out. Yeah. That's how I found out.
So sorry for your loss, Angela. And okay. I saw people posting that, you know, she's left a legacy. She saved lives. She's a hero.
She is. She is. She called me a hero. She said I was a super person. No, that was Shan. Shan was the one that did all that. She made a lot of breaks in getting us information to get people arrested. She did. She saved lives, lots of lives. And she wanted to come back to Hawaii. And the one thing that she kept saying is, we're going to come back there. We're coming back after this is over soon, like soon, really soon, like after summer. And she said, I'm going to take you out to lunch. We're going to see, we're going to vala'au, we're going to talk story, and I'm coming back. Hawaii was her home. So, yeah.
Well, all of our viewers will lift you and her entire ohana in prayer tonight. Before you put your head down, make sure we all say a quick prayer for Shan and her ohana. and we have just gained another guardian angel, and that's the way we celebrate her life. And
I got to tell you one thing funny because I want people to laugh. Just a second. I was just making sure that I have my charging thing here in case I need to charge. It's okay. She was setting somebody up regarding looking for vendors who might be breaking the law, and it had to do with weddings. She was trying to get information, and she said, "Sis, I'm gonna have a wedding. You're gonna be the bridesmaid." I was like, "Yay!" And so that happened. You know, that was our last conversation. So yesterday I had my first vow renewal because I am a wedding officiant and I do vow renewals and marriages. And so this woman called me from Idaho and she said, "Okay, we're cleared." I said, "Okay, good." You know, cleared from quarantine, all that. And she wanted to surprise her husband with a vow renewal. And so this whole spiel came out in my head, and it's not something I would ever do. I swear to you, it was Shan, because she's so kolohe, so rascal. So I made this plan with the wife, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna walk up to you guys at Magic Island, and I'm gonna tell you that you're breaking quarantine and that we got a tip. And I'm gonna look on my phone like GPS kind, right?" I totally did it. I'm walking up there. I got my bag. I'm looking. I'm pretending like I'm on the phone. Yeah. Oh, really? What was her last name? You know, and I start doing Dunkel. Is there a Dunkel? Is there a Mo's Dunkel? Janny Dunkel? And they're like, yeah. And the wife kind of starts to smirk a little and holds her face. And the man's looking at me like, "Oh, shit." So I said, "Sir, I'm with the Aloha Society, and we've received a tip from your vow renewal photographer that you broke quarantine and that you are in violation of the governor's emergency orders." And he looked at me and I said, "You are Mo Dunkel, aren't you?" "Yeah." I said, "Do you have an ID, please?" "No, I don't have one on me." "Do you have a phone?" "No, I don't have one on me." He was smart. I played the whole spiel. I said, "And you're staying at the," and I named the hotel. He looked at me like big eyes. She's trying not to laugh. We get into it and he's making every excuse. And I said, "What about your family?" And he goes, I said, "Do you have family? Can you tell me their names?" He goes, "Just my kids." He wouldn't say names. He was so smart. And then I said, "Sir, happy anniversary. I'm here to actually give you a vow renewal. You're clear. I know who you are." He just went, "Whoa." Oh. We had a really good laugh. The whole family was laughing. Hold on, I got to make one quick adjustment here. Sorry. Oh, I can't see. There, now I can see you. Okay. Yeah, so it was funny. It was so funny. And Shan, I know she planned it because she's so dang kolohe that I know that's what she did. So there, you have it.
thank you. Thank you. That's good to follow up the sadness with some happiness.
Yes.
Right on. So, concerts, weddings, parties, tents. What is going on in your neck of the woods, girl?
You know, I don't know how it is on Kauai or the other islands. I know Maui is bad right now. They've got more assumed cases than Oahu. They're up to about 500 assumed cases. They've been tested, not 100% sure whether they have COVID or not yet, right? So they might need a second test or something like that. And Kauai has what, 0? Almost 0?
Three.
Right? So what does that tell you? Who gets the most visitors gets the most COVID, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
I know that we don't want to blame tourists. I know that, but it's a reality. It's a reality. And I'm sure that DeWolf Miller and other folks will disagree with me, but those people have contact with restaurant and hotel workers. And from what I'm hearing in the hotels, especially on Maui, nobody wears a mask. And it's an uphill battle. And so People don't get tired of dealing with it. So if they're not vaccinated, there's a risk. Why? Even if you have a mask on, you can get it through your eyes. People are partying everywhere. There's underground, we know locations actually. I know of a underground bars that they go to, and usually they funnel them in through a restaurant, and they talk offline. People get the message, they spread it around. It's just like a speakeasy in the old days, right? It's
Well, you know
happening.
what happened? What's happening with these incidents that you've been involved with, that, and thanks to your tenacity, had the ability to shut them down. And I
Yeah.
think it renewed the hope in a lot of our local community, because they were wondering at one point, hey, what the hell is it? You remember there was a time where everybody was just getting frustrated.
And they gave
Well, the
up.
problem is this, the, yeah, and the back end to all of this story that I wanted to mention is that because the administration will not allow where these positive hits are coming from, you could actually have a number that's tested positive, right, in one of these events. But just imagine if you were to say that it came from that event, everybody would, there, see, we told you it's the super spreader event. That's what the administration doesn't want. So what they do, they leave you in darkness and just say, well, there's positive, but we're not saying one way or the other that it came from that particular event. So that's why people, those anti-maskers will say, hey, look, you shut down the event, okay, 500-600 people, not one person got sick. We don't know that. Why? Because the administration won't say anything.
Well, we had,
They won't.
yeah, we had a 750 person wedding. We had a concert in a Quonset hut, which is a makeshift building that it's used to house farm equipment. Some people, younger people don't know that, but that was, I thought it was 200 people. It was 500 people. And there were two businessmen in the neighborhood that were involved, or on Oahu, that were involved in that, supposedly. You know, what about the guy that owns the building, right? Right. And then we have, I had another report of a different location on Oahu that's been doing underground events. Yes, bars. So there's bars in places. There's also beaches, and you're not allowed to have music on beaches because, and stanchions, poles, and all that kind of stuff for volleyball and all that stuff. You can't have that on the beach. Why? Because some areas like Sherwood's, where we shut down 3 events on Saturday. Sherwood's has Ibi Kupuna. That's bones of the ancestors. You don't trample on that. You know, cops were there, DLNR were there before the DJ got set up. Has that ever happened in the history of Hawaii Kapu Breakers? Never. We now have something new that we can use that will basically work on all of this, and now people don't have to worry.
Good.
I saw it on the news tonight, your new partnership.
Yep.
Brand new partnership. I'm excited because this is long overdue. And I think finally people are, even the Lieutenant Governor today, you could sense the apprehension in his tone. I mean, you know, he's trying to keep positive and he's still trying to validate his assumptions that he made for the last several months. And he's very careful what he says. But when he talked about the cluster report, he said, you know, other governors and mayors from other states would die to have our numbers. My God, bro. Our cluster reports are coming out every Thursday. You can see the clusters starting to grow. He went through each cluster report. I mean, every cluster on the report except the hotel and hospitality industry cluster. He didn't mention that one, although it was on the screen. He's very clear. But your new partnership now will give a little bit more oomph in the fight to keep our people safe. And what is that partnership?
So the partnership is thanks to Dr. Libby Char at the Department of Health. So after that big concert with the rapper in Waianae, I was kind of at my wit's end, and Dr. Char was among the top. So I had 3 people that I had in the loop that day. It was the Army Garrison comms person or investigator, I think, and then I had Dr. Char, and then I had General Hara too. I just got so fed up that I just decided to go to the top. And it's General Hara's show, basically, not the shutdown, but the COVID enforcement part of it. in the pandemic. Anyway, I got 0 response. And so the only person who did respond was Dr. Char on Saturday when it was happening. I let them know on Friday. I followed up on Saturday. No response, no response. Finally, Dr. Char messaged me, I think around noontime, and she's like, oh, let's hope, you know, because she was really concerned about it. No answers from General Hara, you know, Dr. Char, that enforcement is not her thing. It's really the medical part of it, you know? So all that happened. And then I said to her, we got to have something. I need something. General Hara said, why not work with the AG's office? And I said, oh, I'm sorry, you know, we've been working with them for a year and they investigate 100% of our, you know, complaints to get resolved with COVID violations. And that's just breaking quarantine. Anything like this is out of their jurisdiction. And they would have to be called in from a higher source. Well, thanks to Dr. Char, we are now connected with that higher source. It's a Department of Defense organization. It is not law enforcement, but they are basically a clearinghouse that when you make a call, when you see something, say something, the Hawaii Fusion Center will take action and will disseminate to the they will disseminate it to the proper authorities. This is not, I saw somebody wearing no mask. This is not a restaurant's too crowded. This has to be big stuff, some of the big stuff. And it shouldn't go direct to the Fusion Center. It should come to Kapu Breakers Group. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that what we're sending them is something big enough for them to handle. We don't want to send them manini stuff that has them going in circles. So the Hawaii State Fusion Center was set up among 77 other fusion centers across the country after 9/11 and after the Boston bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing. What they do is they contract with a enforcement agency person. So let's say they have one person from the sheriff or AG's office, they have one person from HPD, they have one person from the military, they have one person from the Coast Guard, they have one person from the National Guard. Those people are contracted and work in the Fusion Center and work with their agencies as a partner to help make things happen. So for example, when we saw that things were getting out of hand at the Coral Crater concert, what we did was we looked at that and said, okay, let's call Fusion Center. We already talked about it, but they said, okay, we're sending AG's office investigators and we're sending HPD. Now, I couldn't do that. That's not something I could do to call the AG's office and say there's a concert out there. What they'll say is, we don't handle that kind of stuff unless we're ordered to. And we don't know, HPD's been busy. We haven't had much luck with them. So we tried the Fusion Center, and within moments, AG's personnel, investigators, and HPD were there on scene. They were there and they did it. And not only that, the same night, we had a complaint for Sherwood's Beach on Oahu, which is out in Waimanalo, and that's the one that has the Iwi Kupuna, and that's where the DJ has been setting up there. And so they were waiting for the DJ when the DJ arrived. And then the other one was the beach house at Aloha Tower. That's the old Hooters. There's been a person that has been having events there regularly. We've made regular complaints to the sanitation branch of Department of Health. They can't do anything because it's a private event. And then, you know, and then other things. So finally, they followed up, law enforcement followed up with the beach house, and there was a bust or a warning there. I don't know what the end result was. I didn't follow up on that one. So win-win. And the guy who runs it is a former HPD officer. He's a dream to work with. They're required to be on 24/7. If I reach out to him, he's got to get back to me. And they have to investigate 100% of the complaints that we make.
Fine job. I think, you know, I think that's what it's going to take. I think for too long, the lack of enforcement, and while the Fusion Center will deal with the bigger issues. Generally speaking, it's the same even for mask violations because of and quarantine violations because of the lack of enforcement. It's kind of, and people talk, visitors talk. They got social media, they got websites, they got travel agents that said,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, we see it. Yeah.
so this is a good step because now people will understand that if you go and do things like this, you are going to suffer the consequences. I mean, that's how you create deterrence, not by making empty threats. So I'm glad and I'm excited to see these guys finally step up and get into the game.
I do want to interject this. While in between meetings today and getting a blood draw for some labs to prep for my vaccine, I had HNN Hawaii News Now running in my car, and I heard a story where they were out in Kailua, and the one of the people who was talking was an official from Kailua, and they said they hadn't seen this many people since 2019, and that it was nice, but that the floodgates opened and then it was kind of too much. But the visitors soundbite in there was perfect because they said they didn't know that we had this strict of a mask mandate, and they didn't know about all the other stuff. And same thing with the family last night that I did the vow renewal for. Some of them had their masks below their nose or below their chin. And I basically said, the bride and groom can keep their masks off. I will stand far away. I will keep my mask on. And then they asked about it. And I basically told them, hey, we're really strict here because we have Native people. And as soon as I said Native people, and I said, no Hawaiians, no Hawaii. And they went with their mask up. That's all I had to say. No Hawaiians, no Hawaii. And they got it right then and there. And as soon as done. So the message isn't getting out, despite the fact that John DeFries has tried and Mufi Hanneman has basically denied and said there it is, and that we are and cannot help people when they leave the hotel. Yes, you can. End-to-end marketing will resolve it all, most of it anyway. So, yeah.
Well, I'd like to also share that today I had a meeting with an HTA official, and I suggested, I said, why don't you, we're all in it to help. That's basically it. And about a week and a half ago, I text Mel and I said, hey, I sent a text message, and then I had a conversation with John DeFries. And I said, one of my worries were because I started to see the chatter online about so many locals, and it's understandable that they felt slighted because so many rules are changing, where they're asking, why only us? Why only us? We're following the rules, but yet it takes concerted effort on everyone on these islands.
Right.
That includes the travelers. Okay, so why only us? And I started to see the chatter, how it was building up, where it's like, oh boy, I had a bad feeling like somebody is going to have enough and somebody going to get popped. So
it's already happening. It's already happening. It's already happening.
I went to John and I said, John, is there anything else you folks can do to at least make the first step? Then we can, look at the community, the community people and work with them, because something bad going to happen. I don't want to see it happen. And I said, we predicted this would happen because one, the missing variable in this whole thing was hardly having any enforcement. I don't care what anybody says, you call it out, or the enforcement, like I've had messages that, oh, there were protesting going on, but a lot of the police cars just drove by and didn't do anything. So everybody gets upset, right? So the official that I met with today, he discussed, and I said, why don't we do this? Why don't you use our venue? And what we can do is we can make sure we can ask for assistance by the viewers, which is if a viewer can come up with a good messaging slogan, and that, you folks take a look at it and see what you folks want to use, and you folks use it and you let us know, then what we'll do on the Mel and Charlie show is we'll give them something. We'll give them, whether it's a gift basket from one of our vendors, just a little token of appreciation for bringing up a good idea.
Yeah.
And this official said, we can, even if it's on Kauai, we can look at maybe giving them, a good tour of the Nepali coast, all expenses paid, something like that, to get the viewers involved, and says, hey, if you guys come up with think about a good slogan that will be very catchy for the traveler that comes to Hawaii. Because I think, they have a team that's sort of creating this, but I think now we got to start thinking outside of the box.
You know what it is? It's the kind of advertising, and as a marketing executive, you have to think I have to think out of the box in how to reach all the people who don't watch TV or don't look at magazines. And that's,
right.
Most of those people are on social media. So they need to have pop-ups and geo-tagging. There's a way to do an ad that, like, basically, if you're in Alohilani or if you're at the Sheraton, Waikiki, and you leave, as soon as you leave and you look at your phone, there's a pop-up that happens, and it's advertising. It's like when I worked at Shriners, I wanted pop-up ads if somebody was over at Kapiolani to the ER to say that we had something at Shriners for the kids with a broken leg. That's strategic marketing here thinking. But what they should do is have those pop-up ads come up as soon as they leave their area, or if they're in an area like that's sightseeing, like the Blowhole or something like that, that when they open their phone, as long as they're self-service, as long as they open their phone, they get a pop-up, don't forget to wear your mask, it's the law, $5,000 fine, that sort of thing. Or pop-up with quarantine breakers, do not break quarantine, we will be, we do regular checks, pop-up. And to me, the only thing that really makes a difference is no Hawaiians, no Hawaii. So that would be my submittal.
Well, when you talk about that, yet we still have those visitors, like, and it's already hit the national stage, when they're getting out of the cars and coming up and punching a local person just because they got in line, stuff like that.
That was the Nanakuli Starbucks. I talked to her.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, the thing is, what kind of message can we get to these visitors, these travelers, that can really sink in? Because if it's not doing it now, then the question is, when is it going to be done? I mean, when is it going to start sinking in? And I don't know how long, because it's sort of like we're racing against time. If you think about it, we don't have all day, because, I want to make sure that nobody gets arrested. I want to make sure of that, but it's getting pretty darn close. It's getting pretty darn close.
Yeah, and people are getting into fights. We had that woman that got spit on in Safeway, the girl that got punched waiting in line at Starbucks, Even when I told them that it's a $5,000 fine, they looked at me with huge eyes. You are kidding me. We didn't know. And they just think of the laws in their state. So we're protecting our local people. We're protecting Kanaka Maoli, whether you say Kanaka Maoli or Hawaiians. When you say that to people, they know. And I say this too, growing up in Nebraska, when my great grandfather met my great grandmother on the Indian reservation. That's why I have dark hair. And when I go home, there are no people with dark hair like me. They're all blonde hair, blue eyes, and their ancestors are immigrants. And the only thing you can find is buried in the ground, maybe some ancient things. Native Americans in Nebraska and Colorado and such are mostly in the museums. I don't want that here. That's why I fight so hard for this. No Hawaiians, no Hawaii.
I hope, we've tried. I know a lot of money has been spent on messaging with CARES money. A lot of flyers were made and a lot of commercials. We got some really good commercials on TV for the local people.
It's just not strategic, though.
For the local people. I think people are just getting tired of hearing how we gotta, even the Lieutenant Governor today was talking about how we gotta hang on for a little while longer. We gotta keep our gatherings to our family units. We, the local people, the residents, gotta do all of these things, and the visitors come in. and they have pretty much carte blanche. They do what they want. And I think that's the problem. And it's causing some major dissension. And it's going to, I think Charlie's right. It's going to end up.
It is.
And, you know, we, CDC is basically begging the states to hang on for a little while longer, keep the restrictions in place because we are getting closer to the finish line. But once the variants take hold and once we start having these gatherings and we start having these people that don't follow rules, locals and visitors both, then we're gonna go backwards. And when we go backwards, Mitch Roth, Mayor Roth today on the news, he's finally getting it too, and he's talking about testing the arrivals with Miskovich because they caught whatever the number he said it was, and he said he's realizing that if the people that were allowed to have gone through those whatever 80 whatever the number was would multiply because of contact and exposure, and before you know it the hospitals would be over capacity. So he's getting it now, but no one else is. No one of the decision makers aren't, and that's how delicate Hawaii is. Places like the Big Island, Maui, Kauai, rural hospitals, small hospitals. Honolulu, you got a little bit more, you can absorb more, but nonetheless, it's all relative, right? It's proportionate. So with 1 million people on Oahu, do we have enough hospital beds to take care of the locals and the visitors, even for non-COVID related matters? I had a message today, a text message from a good friend who said her friend was in ER here on Kauai and went in last night for a medical condition, non-COVID, didn't have a room available.
Right.
Until 4 o'clock this morning.
Queens is full too, both town and west side, or Queens is full.
And that's not going to change. And COVID just exacerbates the dilemma. And that is what we got to get a handle of. And unfortunately, Angela, things are going to have to get bad before it gets better.
I know. You know that. I know that. Dr. Char knows that. Yeah, totally.
But
yeah.
let me ask you something. You just said that Queens, both town and west, is full.
They're on reroute. Yeah, they're on reroute.
Okay. So why is it that the administration continually spews the fact that we're wide open? Why do they do that, knowing that we can find out that information very, very quickly? I mean, that's
because they're out of touch and they may not know. I only know because I used to work with people in the healthcare, and so they send me information from Straub and from from Queens and from the other hospitals. Yeah, from Liliha. I mean, they're out of touch. And okay, let's say this. Even if locals are the worst with masks, because yes, I do hear that on the North Shore, it's really bad that people out there don't, on North Shore of Oahu to be specific. But how much does it take? Maybe a couple $1,000s, because social ads are so cheap. You could do a really good campaign with $100, really. And you can target people's age group. You can do Insta, you can do Facebook, you can do Snapchat, other things. Invest in one message that gets the point across and make it all digital and see if it makes a difference. Invest in ads in places so you get pop-ups with Travelocity and Expedia, and have those messages there, and make sure that everybody that gets a ticket, that gets on a plane, gets a little card that says, you must wear your mask in all places, $5,000 fine, you cannot break quarantine, community group and people are watching you, just something simple on a card to hand out if that's what it has to take. Or when they arrive, heck, if they paid me, I'd stand there and hand out cards. And I know the rest of the group would too.
You remember in the beginning when the governor was very, very adamant that he didn't want to put all the costs on the traveler. You remember when in the very, very beginning. So that's why there was this thing about testing.
They need to pay for it. If they want to come here and we're the safe place,
exactly.
If we're the safe place to travel, they need to pay for it. They should pay more. We don't want those kind of cheap visitors, because we've had enough experiences with cheap visitors to know that they don't wear their mask and they don't understand.
But look what happened now. If you looked in the recent papers, when they finally opened up, and the only rental cars that was left was at $500 a day.
I know, I know.
So
Actually, one of our mods didn't have a car the other day and looked for a car, and there was zero. And there was one Turo car for 300 something. And so I loaned him my car because I know what it's like not to have a car, you know?
well,
Yeah. Yeah, all the cars are gone. They're all rented out. We're at capacity, I think, for what's open. Yeah. But I think it was too soon, too fast. You don't want to go from 0 to 100. You want to go from 0 to 25, 25 to 50, and then from there. It's just the right thing to do because we're not getting the right kind of visitors now anyway. They're the kind that don't spend money. Look at HTA and what they say about people spending money when they come here. The latest number said they're not spending money. And if they're not spending money, they're coming from places, cheap places where people don't travel and, haven't been off the continental United States and don't know how to act in a foreign place.
no, they're doing. They're coming, and if you see most of them stay in their room, they have their hot plate with them, and they're making their own food in there.
Yeah, they are. No joke. You're right. Yep. They're doing
Now,
Airbnb.
let me ask you this one quick one. One of our viewers who have provided a lot of source information with the airlines as an example, and I've got these reports almost daily, and I've just seen the numbers with Hawaiian Air, and these are their employees, and there are good numbers that's always infected for
I
some
know.
reason.
I know,
And
it's terrible.
yeah, and it's not going down. I mean, it's crazy, and
And
now it's
it's not,
starting.
and it's not,
It's an
and it's not
uptick going
reported.
on.
Right. And it's not reported. I get from JetBlue sometimes, I get from Hawaiian Air and some of the other airlines. And I guess there's a section of the employees a percentage that probably don't want to get or can't get the vaccine. That's probably, a thing. And so those are going to be the people who are turning up positive. And if you're not careful and you do have the vaccine, you can have coronavirus and you can test positive for it. And you might not get sick, but can you pass it on to somebody else?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's highly possible.
And that's the problem. No one knows. No one
Right.
knows. Right now.
Right. And I want to say something to what the promoter said from the Coral Crater, that big concert. He basically said, it's like 1 or 2% death rate from COVID. And it's probably a little bit, I think it was 1 to 3% it is actually. And he's saying 1% is not bad. No, but when you get up, it is 1% if you count the kids and the elderly, right? But if you skip out kids and you go just from, the older age people, it's more like 2%. And that's like 10 to 20 times more virulent and dangerous than the flu. And the numbers go even higher for complications. And then from there, you talk to people like me who get COVID and end up with long haul syndrome. And then you have a whole long list of stuff. There's people with kidney issues. There's people with diabetes that they get post-COVID. They have heart issues. There have been people who have died of sudden heart failure. You don't get that from the flu. Come on now. The long haul issue is a worry, a big worry. And it's not like the flu. It's not like the cold. It's completely different. There's so many different variables health-wise with this disease. People need to take it more seriously.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the people that were now they're just getting tired, and they're getting tired. And you combine the fatigue, the COVID fatigue, along with the sugar-coating information from our leaders. You tend to think that you're going to be okay, and that you tend to think that it's okay to go to that gathering that we haven't gone to for a year, or to go out and go to a bar and kick back and relax. Um, it is what it is, and I don't know how to get until the numbers start going to the 200s and the 300s, where people are going to really realize that it's back, and it's back with a vengeance. Then I think people will start realizing. But it might be too late for a lot of people. That's my
Yeah,
fear.
yeah.
It's when you hear people talk about, I don't really rely on the numbers, and I'm talking about elected officials or decision makers. Say, I'm not really worried about the case count. I'm more worried about hospitalizations and death. Oh gosh, guys, that's crazy.
Well,
That's
not only that, but you've got an age group of the 40, and I say this all the time, so the public just needs to hear it. You've got this age group, my age group, your age group, the 40 to 60 somethings who haven't gotten their vaccine yet, who don't qualify. And this is the heartbeat of the community. The 40 to 60-year-olds are the ones that are working. They're not retired yet. They're working. They have kids. They have grandkids. They have college kids. Those are the people, because they've got these young kids and college kids in the community who are going out and doing this, you know, and then the kids come home and they infect them, the parents, the grandparents, the aunties and uncles, the neighbors, you know. That's where the issue is. It's not about them, which is a lot of times what they think of. It's about everybody else and your family.
yep, scary stuff. And hopefully the vaccine rollouts will. Charlie said a while back. Why don't we just open it up to everybody? Whoever can get down there and get a shot. Now it's starting to make a lot of sense because it's who's we have the vulnerable community, and yes, we got to take care of them, but you also have people in the community, and they may call them essential workers, but a lot of people that are possible transmitters of the virus are not eligible to get the vaccine. They may work in industries or jobs where they may not be considered essential, but they are in a position where they can get and pass the virus just because of the nature of their job, and yet they're still not able to get the vaccine. So I don't get it. I don't. I know we had been promised that the whole state was going to be vaccinated, and we'd have the passport and we can travel freely, and all
It's
this
not
talk.
time for that yet. Yeah, it's not time for that yet. And we don't know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And
We don't know if you can transfer the virus when you have the vaccine. We know that people are positive, so that's a concern, right? That's a big concern. Nebraska just opened up to anyone who wants a shot today, as of today. So my cousins, my cousin is a physician here, and his wife, and they went back to see family in Nebraska. And my cousin's wife just got her shot today. She's my age, and so she's getting her first shot there, even though they don't live there. She's getting it there. She's doing what people don't like, and then she can come back and get her second shot after that here. But it's maybe they don't have enough, and I know that there are issues with the transportation, and I know Dr. Char is doing her best. I think that state leaders really need to listen. Every time Mufi comes back with something, John DeFreeze understands, he gets it. They need to take action. There needs to be advertising. It needs to be digital. It needs to be new. They need a consultant to do that. It has to be somebody skilled in young people to be able to market to them. And every touch point, that they go through on their trip, they should be getting a message, and it should be clear that you have to wear your mask, that it's a mandate, that you'll get a $5,000 fine. Once you make that clear to people, it works. It helps.
Yep.
that's the task, and it's not a very difficult task. That's the
No,
frustration. I mean, they've overcomplicated this thing. I'm familiar with the Facebook advertising, social media, Instagram advertising, very, very affordable. You target the groups that you talk about, you target the travelers, you target the people that are searching for hotels. You specifically target these guys are not going to have a choice. They're going to get pop-ups that there is no excuse. I still don't think there's an excuse for not knowing. You should know. And but that's a convenient excuse to just say I didn't know. And then they get defensive and they get upset. They spend a lot of money. They think they can walk around the streets without masks, and all the while spreading COVID. And that's the scary part. And that's not going to slow down for us on Kauai. I got to tell you, I'm extremely worried about what happens starting next week, Monday.
Yeah, I am too.
When, again, we're delicate. This island is so delicate. The resources are so small and limited. I worry. And maybe that's what's going to have to happen for people to open up their eyes. And it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Hey, maybe is there anybody that can on Kauai that will stand with a sign or hand something out that people can get when they arrive? I mean, you could do it on Kauai because it's only one way out of the airport, or maybe the guard shack where they, go through, or do they do that anymore?
They don't, not here. They do the checkpoint inside the terminal.
So the checkpoint inside the terminal, whomever is having that touch point with the people that are coming in, the visitors need to get the message that they have to wear their mask.
I can tell you on Kauai, man, it's all over the airport. There's a baggage claim. There's a video. When you drive out of the thing, there's a sign. I mean, again, it's for these guys. It's intentional. They don't want to wear a mask, and they're not going to wear a mask. And if we don't enforce that, if we don't strictly enforce it, and I'm talking about enforcement, it's not going to change. It's like a little child that you keep telling them, you do that again, you're going to get spanking. You don't get spanking, you keep doing them.
Right.
It's conditioned. They're not going to change their behavior. And
I don't understand why there were two bills in the legislature. They did crossover, which means now the House bills go to the Senate bills go to the House. One of the mask bills was shut down. And that was a mask bill that would have taken it from a misdemeanor to a citation. I don't know why they dismissed that. Is it because maybe they're waiting for the other bill? The other bill, I think, comes up in April, like April 9th or something like that. And I'm going to rally the troops for that. But that's, that would end it so that people can just pay the ticket.
Yeah, but what happens if they don't pay the ticket?
Well,
what happens if they don't pay the ticket? They're not gonna pay the ticket. They're gonna go back home. It'll work perfectly for local people who don't have nowhere else to go. But the tourists are gonna go back to the mainland and they're not gonna pay the ticket. No one's gonna fly them back to prosecute them.
No, but if it's 150,
I said long ago, if you wanna end this, if you really wanna end it, you put a $5,000 or $10,000 bail. You physically arrest them. You take them to the station. You pay a $10,000 bail, cash, no bond. You only go do that times.
But right now it is 5,000. It is 5,000.
It's a $5,000 fine after they go to court.
Oh,
bail. I'm talking about sticking their okole in a cell until they come up with the bail. Then they get a court date. If they want to leave and don't come back, don't. We got your money. That's cool. But right now, you write them a ticket. It's like a parking ticket or a ticket. You go back to the mainland. It's done. It's done. You wanna enforce it. You want to get the word out, and you even if it's $1,000 bail, even if it's 500, but they don't leave the cell until they come up with $500 cash.
So with one of the states on the mainland, they have people in areas, and it's like a meter maid, but they have a swipe machine, and they walk around, and if they catch somebody, they can pay the fine right there. They can pay it right there on the thing. That's it. The person arresting them or citing them, they can say, hand your card, you can pay this right now, don't do it again. If you do, it goes from a 100 fine to a 500 fine, and you just swipe the card, you give it back to them, they pay it, you're done.
Like I said, that works well for local residents because you got all the different avenues. You cannot go nowhere. Your court date's going to be a court date. You don't pay your fine, they come after you. But on a visitor, if I was in the mainland and somebody gave me a ticket and I didn't feel like paying, I wouldn't pay. I just don't. Whatever. Send me.
Really? I always pay mine.
Well, I do too. I do too. But if you choose not to, what happens? What happens? There is absolutely no penalty because they're not
Well,
going
a citation is more likely to be paid than what the system they have set up now. Yeah, you don't want to have anybody go to court. So there's one more bill left for that. I think it's a House bill. I don't remember the number, but I'll look it up and send it out.
Yeah, I mean, something's got to be done. The enforcement has to be swift. It has to be severe, and that's the only way. That's the only way. And to
Yeah.
me, that's how you do it. You physically arrest them, bring them in, and make them pay cash to get out. That's it. That's it. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not anything that'll inconvenience the visitors. I don't think will pass the legislature. That's just my honest opinion. That's just my honest opinion. That's just what I've seen, and I don't expect that to change.
They didn't do a good job of educational marketing from the get-go. And so that's a problem, you know, and it's all those touch points that I've been talking about for a long, long time, saying end-to-end marketing, and it just doesn't get done. I don't know why. You know, I get the impression, and I'm sorry to say this, you know, I get the impression that officials with the state, they just try to placate me because, you know, I'm constantly yakking, right?
Well,
Charlie and I know the feeling. We know the feeling.
you know, I tell you one thing. You look in the recent recent NHK news, and you watch the technology used by all these other countries in fighting COVID. They are so serious about it. They follow through. They make sure that people move. They're monitored every single time bit of the way into. They come out with a negative for sure. Then they get released from that app. It gets released from the cloud somewhere. But the technology is so high tech that you figure the money that's spent going into it, right? But that's how serious these countries treat it. For some reason, it almost seems like we're all wow. We say we're coming after you,
Yep. And it's a joke. It's a
but
joke.
you got a dog barking in the background, but guess what? The dog ain't gonna bite. You need that bite, and you
Or the
need the
dog
bite
isn't
not
real.
once, but you need that bite not once, not twice, but several times. Then people will catch on. Okay, the
Yeah.
bite is real. Right now, everybody can say, hey, it's really not a bite; it's just a nibble, and I can live with that. But to be effective, gotta have a real mean bite to it, and
Yep.
unfortunately, it's not happening.
Look at Waikiki or anywhere. Get the big "Do not cross" flashing light with the red man in the thing. You do not cross. People look up to see the sign, and then they cross. Right? This human nature that mask is uncomfortable. These people coming from states that have no mask mandate.
Right. They don't know. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
they know. They just think it's not
Well,
serious.
But you see,
some of them put it below their nose, or some of them put it below their chin, you know.
but
There's
Mel, nobody would ask Charlie Iona about that flashing light principle you just talked about, right? That flashing light that says "Do not cross." If they ask Charlie Iona, I would also put like on trap door in the crosswalk. So if you do cross, the thing gonna open up and just gonna swallow you up.
Yeah,
Oh,
I tell you, man. I again, and we've been saying this for a while now that unfortunately this was bound to happen. The spike was going to happen. We're no different than any other place in the world. This was going to happen, and some of our decision makers wanted to believe that it wasn't, that we were somehow different. Physiologically, we were different from others around the world, that maybe because we're separated by water, that the COVID wouldn't come back and wouldn't spike, and that the variants wouldn't come to Hawaii because the Safe Travels program kicks out 99% of the positive. That's what they wanted us to believe, and now they're realizing it's not true. And the worst is yet to come, unfortunately. So as we keep saying, we as individuals need to do our part to take care of ourselves and make sure that we keep doing what we need to do.
yeah.
Hawaii Kapu Breakers needs to continue doing what they do. Mel and Charlie needs to continue what we do, that we got to keep informing and educating the public so that we can minimize the damage to our state as best we can. Because the leadership is not listening to the experts. And I'm not saying Charlie and I or Angela are experts. We're the relayers of information that come from experts. And they have chosen not to listen. They believe they're smarter. And this will be the biggest egg in your face example the state has ever seen. Soon. I'm just
You
being
know,
real honest with you guys. And if I'm wrong, the egg will be on my face.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't
Yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
problem with that. I
we
don't have a
already have visitors who are upset because they've been asked to put up their mask, or because they didn't know, or they got in a fight with somebody or an argument or whatever, and then they leave a bad taste in their mouth. That's what not marketing the mask mandate does. And it's happening all over the internet, all over the social media. If they can't get this shit together, that shit is gonna be all over the internet, all over. And it already is. And the people who love Hawaii, who know that we have native people, who know that this place is special, that we have no flora and fauna or any, most of what we have here, you can't find anywhere else. They wear their mask and their pono. It's the ones who've never been here, who know nothing about it. Those are the ones that we have to be careful of.
yeah.
And we
Well,
have to bring it to them.
Angela, that time went by really quick. Appreciate
Yes.
you again. Appreciate you
I have
again.
one more thing I want to say, because I know lots of folks are watching. They've asked me about this. They asked me about it today at HNN. We will eventually change the name. Okay. We will eventually change the name and take quarantine out. But when we take quarantine out, we have to add the word group or hui at the end. So if you ever say quarantine breakers, and you're referring to us, please always say Quarantine Breakers Group. Hawaii Quarantine Breakers, or no, excuse me. Sorry, Angela. Retake. Say Kapu Breakers Group. We will take quarantine out, so it'll be Kapu Breakers Group. But don't say Kapu Breakers, because it sounds like we're the ones that are breaking the law. So Kapu Breakers Group is what we'll eventually go to, and we'll continue working with the Fusion Center, and we'll continue to fight crime. But we don't fight crime after it happens. We fight it before it happens, so we prevent things from happening. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. And I
You're
congratulate
welcome.
you on
Thank
the
you.
partnership and facilitating that. Charlie.
Well, as always, it's been an enjoyable evening with the lovely Angela Keene. And thank you so much with all of the great news, because, even though it sounds corny, but you know what? It is a sign of hope,
Yes.
because we've been doing this so much. I wonder if people were actually taking us serious or not. But now with what you've partnered with, now people can take that to the bank. It's a
Yeah, and
serious.
they'll do all islands, even Kauai.
Okay.
Supposed to tell you hi, Mel, from Paul Epstein.
I saw him on TV tonight. Thank you. Tell him I said hi, Paul. I mean, we go back a long way, like a very long way.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and I haven't seen him for probably 20 years. But
Yeah, so he's
Wow,
with the Fusion Center, and he's the one partnering with us. So thank you.
that's a long way. But anyway, to our viewers out there, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight, because good news came out of it. That's what we wanted. Things have been idle for a while. Everybody was in this wait and see mode. But really, what's happening, especially this past weekend, to have triple banging, 1, 2, 3, down for the count, that says a lot. So thank you very much, Angela. Thank you. Mel?
thanks again, Angela. Thank you, viewers. We had a good viewership tonight. Angela, we always bring on the crews, guys. I mean, you guys are awesome. Our viewers, we got the best viewers in the planet. Again, don't forget tonight to lift Shan and her family up in prayer before you put your head down. She was another trooper. She did watch our show as well. She was one of our viewers, and it's a big loss for us. But now we pick up the slack, and we do not let her legacy die, because she's not here. She's in a better place, and we will continue to fight until the fight is no longer needed to fight. And hopefully it's so. Angela, again, thank you so much. I am trying to put a panel together for Wednesday night of a lot of our top medical doctors in the state. I got a couple of responses. I'm trying to put a panel for us on Wednesday to hear straight talk, straight facts, and what's happening. So we'll keep you guys posted. Be on the lookout for the promo slide that hopefully will be up tomorrow. Aside from that, you guys stay safe. God bless. We love each and every one of you. Angela, you go get some rest. You need it. Forget about it. And tomorrow's another day.
All right, we'll see ya.
Aloha, you guys. Stay safe.